Yeah. Hello. I should probably unplug this light. There you go. Alright, better. Hello, viewers. My name is Zack Hardy, and this is my review, albeit a very late review, of USW Aftershock 2017. Now, yes, I would like to apologize. I did not review it, what was it, a week and a half ago when it originally showed. I will admit I took my very well-needed vacation from a lot. It didn't go anywhere, but, I stuck to just keeping on the down low and being to myself for a while. So, whatever it may be, Happy New Year's, Merry Chrysler. Hope you had a fun, wonderful holidays. Hope you didn't get drunk, or well, you could have gotten drunk. I hope the hangover wasn't too bad, and I hope you got home safe. We are going to talk wrestling right now. We are 51 minutes away from the Wrestle Kingdom 12 pre-show. I'm staying up the whole night through in order to watch the show, and I'll probably end up reviewing it afterwards as well. So, again, Happy New Year to all, and I would like to just state two things very quickly. A lot of people wanted me, especially with the success in viewership of the Let's Talk on Adam Blampier. For one, I would like to, right now, just state that, yes, my opinion on the whole thing has changed quite drastically. Didn't have a lot of information when it originally came out, and that's all I'm going to say about that. But people wanted me to do a Let's Talk on the Logan Paul, I Found a Dead Body in the Woods video, and I'm going to respectfully decline that, because unless something monumental that really needs to be talked about comes out of him or his brother's immature fucking beaks, I have no intention on paying any attention to the Paul brothers anymore. They're just they're below me at this point in time. I don't really need to talk about them. I know my time is worth more than talking about two fucking bleach blonde dipshits in front of a camera every day, because they have no life outside of technology. Anyway, and the fact that I did, yes, re-sign, as of yesterday, re-sign with Ultimate Showcase Wrestling into my second term, out of my three-term contract. I will be signed with Ultimate Showcase Wrestling throughout June 3rd. No, June 2nd. My apologies. Throughout June 2nd. And I will be able to work with whatever promotion I'd like, as long as it does not infringe on any dates. I will be doing more pay-per-view event, or every pay-per-view event, as well as more intensity shows and house shows. I know a lot of people and fans were very disappointed with my lack of influence and lack of work ethic last year, and I want to apologize. Mine was in a lot of educational and personal and professional conflicts, and I thought I could juggle it all at once. I couldn't, so I kind of held it back to pay-per-views. But I'm going to, especially after USW gave me the respect in keeping the world championship of the Intensity brand on me even after my contract expired, not even knowing if I was going to continue into my second term or not. With that respect and with that show of faith that they have in me, I have to give back to them, and I did not do that last year, and I'm greatly sorry for my performance last year. That changes as of January 2nd. That has changed. I am working harder. I'm working stronger, faster, tougher. I'm better than I have been in a number of years, probably since I was shredded. I'm getting back into that mode of work, and with the faith and the trust that USW has shown in me, I have to, and always have, much like I always will, give back to them. So with that being said, let's get into the review. Topic number 1 is water. It's great. It's water, healthy, awesome. Don't drink enough of it. So we start the show with, this nature that we know of. We know that the USW secondary shows are going to be less and less influential in the overall product. They have stuck to the $19.99 price point for 2017. From what I know, in 2018, for the first 4 months of the year, these show pay-per-views, which, you know, Insanity is in January and Call to Greatness is in April. So the 2 February, the 2 February and 2 March brand exclusive pay-per-views will, I believe, be priced at $14.99 as opposed to the regular $19.99 per show. So it's kind of like the whole WWF in your house kind of treatment. So they're not going to have as much of an influence and an impact this year as they did last year. And that is, again, a big way to help USW maintain that big outcome, that big buy rate for the Insanity, Call to Greatness, Bulletproof, and Warzone pay-per-view events, which, again, I am not an expert in that field, so I can't tell you whether that will work or not. It has its pros, it has its cons. Not going to get into it again. Got into it last month. Go watch that review. Top of the show if you want it. So with Aftershock, there were a couple of stories that I had not kept you up to date on because I had not talked to anybody that watched Intensity or Severity for that matter. So I didn't get to hear a lot. Apparently, a number of weeks ago, the God Complex, as they're now known, for 1 week they were named Disciplinary 14, which was okay. There's 4 of them, not 14. Whatever it may be. They renamed to the God Complex, especially with their ring names being named after Greek or Roman, I think it was Greek, gods. There was Octavian, Ophion, Artemis, and their valet, Aphrodite. And that was a big talking point from what I heard in USW at the end of last year, was that there was now an active female on the roster. And that's not, you know, it's not like that was something that, like, oh my God, how could they? It was a case of this was extremely surprising because there has not been a women's division underneath a underneath a Reese family brand or Reese family organization since 2008. So it was almost 10 years. Actually, almost just as long as I've been working in the industry since there's the last time that there's been a women's division on any sort of Reese family organization kind of thing. Now, it did run for a number of years past 2008. I think it was going into 2011, but it was more a house show kind of thing. They were trying to make it its own entity. Didn't pan out, so it was just like here and there events, whatever it may be. The original, scrappage for, the WOW women's division was that the women just were not ready to compete. They weren't willing to take it seriously. Backyard wrestling, of course, is a very male-dominated industry. I would more like say category, but when it comes down to a women's division, it's something that you don't see too often. So you want them to perform well, and they just didn't care to perform. So the Reese family organization kind of at that point in time just lost faith in a women's division, and now that they see this as a growing brand, this is a company. USW is an entity now that is growing in popularity and surging into legitimacy when it comes down to the wrestling audience. They are now, looking and experimenting with these women on screen roles. You have Rosalind McAvoy, or Rose Line, who is the current interviewer for the Wednesday Night Intensity brand. You had subtle references to Kyle Reese Jr.'s wife, who I think it was Erica. Yeah, it's Erica. I always say Eileen Reese, but it's Erica Reese. And I don't know why I say Eileen. I have no clue. But they've made references to her as well. Now they have a legitimate, consistent on-screen, in-ring entity when it comes down to a woman in Aphrodite. So that was a big talking point because it got people wondering whether there was a women's division coming soon. I mean, we've known that there was a women's division in the works. USW's training, package center, whatever you want to call it, program has been training fantastic women's wrestlers, but they've been looking for the right time. They've been looking for the right point and when they could make it succeed the most. And so Aphrodite, for right now, considering she is the only active woman on the entire Ultimate Showcase Wrestling roster, Intensity and Severity, is probably going to stick to valeting right now. But God Complex, nonetheless, debuted a number of weeks ago. They are essentially this, I don't know how best you could describe it. They are kind of like Demon Finn Balor, four Demon Finn Balors. No, I'll say this. They are like if Decay from old Impact Wrestling / GFW / TNA, if Rosemary was Aphrodite, Abyss was, similar in size to Crazy Steve, and it was another Crazy Steve. That's essentially God Complex right then and there. They're freaks. They're crazy. They have little paint on their face, but it's enough to kind of stand out. But when it comes down to it, they are absolutely vicious. They will rip you apart in the ring. They are just bubbles of animosity. So that was the big story there. The whole emerging faction of the God Complex automatically starting a feud with the Promised Land, who paired with Crimson Red for this night. And there's a storyline to that. We'll get to that very soon because it was the kickoff match. You also had Jake Porter looking for redemption, getting a match against Austin Atomic at the show. You had Mika Jordan's Global Championship match. You had Chris Ross with his first World Championship defense. You had Suzuki Kiragashi versus Verse 9 again for the International Championship. And you had Mashigeta versus Cannon, which has been rumored to be a huge feud they're wanting to set up for Call to Greatness. So all eyes on that. So that being said, there was a lot to look forward to with the show. It was definitely a build-up to the Insanity pay-per-view. And overall, I'm very much looking forward to the Insanity show at the end of the month. That should be absolute chaos and fun to watch as well. Overall, Aftershock wasn't bad. We got into the kickoff match to start the God Complex versus Tanner Wallace, Blaine North, and Crimson Red. So the story goes that the God Complex attacked Tanner Wallace and Blaine North and Suzuki Kiragashi a number of weeks ago. I think it was the first week after they made their debut. And so Wallace and North, knowing that Kiragashi had an international championship match against Verse 9, needed to find a new tag team partner. So they went to Crimson Red, who they knew wasn't doing shit because Severi's creative direction sometimes leaves performers that shouldn't be left out of the mix. So they brought him in, and the whole case was, are they going to gel? Are they going to pair well? Is this going to be an introduction of Crimson Red into the Promised Land? There was this talk about making the Promised Land more than 3 people. I think they were going to cap it at 5 or 6. So was this his introduction to into the team? And at the same time, you had the God Complex's in-ring debut as a tangible unit. So there was the big story. That was a whole story on this match. Overall, when it comes down to USW shows, there's almost never really a worst match on the card. It's just the least impactful match, least notable match on the card. This would probably be the least notable match on the card, but it's kind of a case of everybody has to get used to the God Complex. Now, the Promised Land is one of those groups that you'd assume would be somewhat over with the crowd. Mind you, this is a USW crowd, which is almost just as hellacious as ECW. When it comes down to the Promised Land, it's a case of you would assume them to be likable, but the USW fan base is just so anti-Promised Land when it comes down to support. Like, they enjoy the promos and the in-ring work. They are into it. They're always alive for their matches when it comes down to the Promised Land. But when it comes down to their likability in the USW crowd and the fan base, they are absolutely loathed. It's a case of they are cocky, they are arrogant, they are like the brash young new recruit that, my apologies, the brash young new recruit that, it's like he's full of himself, he thinks he's hot shit, but the difference is, and it's interesting to see this difference, the difference is that they aren't hot shit and they're not young because, let's see, Tanner Wallace has been doing this for a couple of years, since the Ferocity brand in 2015. Blaine North has been here since the Ferocity brand in 2015. And Suzuki Kirakashi is consistently in main championship territory. So they're not like the new kids on the block that need to act brash and arrogant and cocky, trying to find a place to belong, because they belonged on the roster for a number of years now. They're no longer rookies. They're essentially walking veterans. So it's something that very well, it meshes very well. It's great character for them, but it's something that everybody will love watching their promos, watching their in-ring work, but will boo the fucking shit out of them, no matter how much they get behind them as wrestlers. It's like if Roman Reigns were good on the mic and fantastic, untouchable in the ring, fans would more than likely be all eyes and ears on Roman Reigns when it came to his promos and in-ring work, but they'd still boo the hell out of him because he's just not over as a good guy. And that, kind of like the same as John Cena. They got sick and tired of him, even though with this it's just they're not likable. But they're all eyes and ears on his promos and on his matches. They're always awake. They're always lively. So that is the story there. And it's seen if Crimson Red, who is this humble, very likable, very over, no matter how far deep in the shuffle he may be, with the crowd, pairing up with these two cocky pricks. So that was essentially that idea on that side, and also seeing what the God Complex can do. This was the only reason this was probably the least notable match on the card, was because of... Am I on the camera? I am. Okay. The only reason this was probably the least notable match on the entire card was primarily because it was all-out chaos from start to finish. Like, you never really got to see who the legal competitor was. Like, at one point, I was sure that Octavian and Crimson Red were the legal participants, but then Blaine North pinned Artemis, I believe it was, or was it? No, it was Artemis. It was Blaine North pinning Artemis, and I was so off. And then Blaine North tagged in fucking Tanner Wallace, and Artemis tagged in Octavian, and they were fighting, and I kept track of who it was. And so it was a case of they got back in the ring, and the camera split back to once Octavian tagged in Ophion, and Ophion got in the ring, and it was like you blink and you miss it. It was all out chaos. You couldn't really keep a hold on what the fuck was going on. It was very enjoyable. Chaos was great to watch, but my fucking God, was it hard to know, all right, you're the legal participant, all right, now everybody's in the ring, why isn't the ref counting? All right, you've been out of the ring for 35 seconds now, you should be counted out. Like, it was just, it was mind-boggling to try to pay attention to who was who and who they were, or who was where they were supposed to be and who wasn't. It was God. Now, the chaos would sell me and all, but with this being such an influential match, being as not only does it start a feud between Wallace and North and Crimson Red, which we'll get into, but it's the debut match of the God Complex. Like, I mean, think about when the Shield had their first match at TLC in 2012 when they fought Ryback, Kane, and Daniel Bryan. That was all-out chaos. That's fine. But imagine if that was the match, but tag rules applied. Like, there was no element where, okay, everybody can get in the ring and, it's legal. There's no disqualifications. Go at it. It's like this. There are disqualifications. Everybody was in the ring at once. Not a damn thing was done about it. This guy was out of the ring for 45 seconds. I think I counted Blaine North on the other side of the barricade for 1 minute and 20 seconds before he got up and the referee started counting. It was absurd. It was like the referee should have been doing his job. It should have been much easier to be able to pay attention to. Overall, I think that took away so much enjoyment of the match. I love a car wreck. I love a fucking destruction derby, but when everything's happening at once and you can't focus on what you're meant to focus on, it's not enjoyable at the point in time. It takes too much away. So that is probably the least notable match on the card. God Complex win the match. I think it was with a simple roll-up or something like that. There are a lot of roll-ups in USW. Let me make that clear. And so that was the case. God Complex wins the match. I think Aphrodite got involved in a distraction with Blaine North at one point. Whatever. So God Complex wins in their debut. They have a momentum. They look strong. And after the match, Crimson Red gets in the ring to help Blaine North up because it's a case of looking out for your own. This is essentially, they're still technically, I mean, they're no longer technically a unit, but it's like, all right, maybe there's a strengthening of a bond. So Crimson Red goes to help up Blaine North, and Tanner Wallace hits him in the face with a big boot, starts stomping away on him, and Blaine North then joins in. So Crimson Red is attacked 2-on-1 by the Promised Land, the Goons, as I call them, of the Promised Land, and Tanner Wallace and Blaine North, setting up a feud between, more than likely, not just Tanner Wallace and Blaine North, but as well as Suzuki Kakashi and the rest of the Promised Land and Crimson Red. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with that. Perhaps it goes into a Crimson Red International Championship shot, maybe in the March pay-per-view, or maybe at Call to Greatness for all we know, maybe even the February pay-per-view. But whatever it may be, I like the storytelling of there. I like the God Complex walking out with momentum. I think with all the carnage that was, that took place in this match, the outcome of what happened after the bell rang for the final time was a great payoff and was just fantastic. Worked out perfectly in the end. God Complex has the momentum. They move on to better things. They're continuing to prove themselves. And Wallace and Blaine North have a meaningful feud against Crimson Red, which now allows Crimson Red to get out of that shuffle and into something more fulfilling. So I'm happy with that. After this match, there's an interview with Morbid as he takes on Lone Wolf. My handwriting is awful, and I'm a ways away with glasses. As he takes on Lone Wolf, Alexander Rotten, and World Heavyweight Champion Chris Ross in a 4-way dance for the World Heavyweight Championship, which is, surprisingly, not the main event of the evening. Well done. Great making Chris Ross look like a definitive World Heavyweight Champion. God, that man is underappreciated when it comes down to the main event roster. Yeah, we'll give you a world title. Well, hell, win 4 world titles. Okay. We got nothing for you. How do you like the Extreme Championship picture? Oh, you're done with the Extreme Championship picture. Oh, MC4 stomped all over you. Have fun with Philip Akron and the tag team division. And that tag team's over. Have fun with, East Bumble. Okay, though, that's done now. Have fun founding the Buckers, and well, that's going nowhere. Fuck it. Take the world title. We're probably going to take it off of you before Call to Greatness, but take the world title for now, for fuck's sake. Jesus Christ, with all the time that Chris Ross has put in since the beginning with this company, give him a goddamn world title push, please. Keep him here. Make sure he stays. He's a great talent. Anyway, Morbid essentially goes into detail of he was robbed of the championship the same night he finally won it for the first time at the pay-per-view before in Bulletproof. When Chris Ross cashed in. When Chris Ross utilized his key in case, or unlocked his key in case as they call it, and stole the championship from him, and now he's angry, and even angrier because now he has to deal with Alexander Rotten and Lone Wolf at the same time, meaning that this is just an absolute clusterfuck that he shouldn't have to deal with. He's annoyed that he doesn't get his one-on-one rematch before the 4-way dance, but he's accepting it, and he's going to go in guns a-blazing. So, fine, cool. Next match was for the Global Championship. It was Eli Kaner defending the championship against Mika Jordan. I have no problem with this match. This was a very fun match, very enjoyable match. Of course, we're still in that realm where we understand they're holding back, so that way they don't give too much away. And I don't like that restraint on performers, but if that's their agenda, then that's their agenda. You could tell they wanted to do more, but at the same time, it forced them to do different shit. So Eli Kaner came out guns a-blazing with a lot of technical maneuvers, and Mika Jordan worked down on the back of Eli Kaner. It was honestly, it was fantastic to kind of see that working of of the body and strenuating every single possible chance that or every single part of the body that can give you an advantage. I enjoyed this match for what it was. One of the more memorable matches on the card. It ended with a missed missile drop kick from Mika Jordan into the Flamingo Parade, which is a I know the name, it's not coming to me. Overhead Fisherman Suplex, just glorified with a name. So Eli Kaner now has the Flamingo Parade. Sometimes I swear USW just secretly wants to jinx themselves on their own goddamn product. Anyway, enjoyable match. Eli Kaner beats Mika Jordan to retain the Global Championship. I'm fine with that. I think this may go into a feud going into Insanity, if not into the February pay-per-view. I'm all aboard for what happens next, so I'm on the train. Next match was Austin Atomic defeating Jake Porter. This was essentially a number of weeks ago. Excuse me. Listen, it's 1:30 in the morning. I'm parched. I'm going to be up until, God, probably 8 or 9, maybe 10 reviewing it. Fuck off. I haven't slept. God. 5 o'clock in the morning can't come fast enough. If you're wondering and you're not from the New England area, you don't have a Dunkin' Donuts. Dunkin' Donuts opens up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I love their coffee. Now, please come soon. This match was set up a number of weeks ago when Jake Porter walked into Martin Reese's office and went, "Hey, I'd like to, do something. Can you make that happen?" And Austin Atomic walked in and went, "Hey, I'd like that idea too. We should fight." And then Martin Reese went, "Okay, yeah, you'll fight at the pay-per-view. Good luck." Then they cut a couple promos. They both said the same thing because, they've both been underutilized to hell. Jake Porter called Austin, I know a number of weeks ago, Jake Porter called Austin Atomic a pitiful excuse for even a transitional World Heavyweight Champion, which, if you think about it, Austin Atomic wasn't a transitional champion. He held it for a number of months. It just seemed that way because he was kind of building up his character as he was a world champion. Whatever it may be. He made it work. So with that, they set up the match, and it was honestly somewhat enjoyable. I had no problems with it. Atomic performed well. Jake Porter is great. The one thing that I think Jake Porter needs to work on the most is selling. For a long portion of time, Austin Atomic right knee. Austin Atomic targeted the right knee to keep Jake Porter down. One of Jake Porter's signature maneuvers is a V-trigger or a running knee to the head, much like Kenny Omega. So his right knee is the most dominant knee, so taking the element out keeps him from being able to perform his finisher. It's a case of, I'm sorry for all the ums and its, but when it comes down to Jake Porter, in the match, you would see him limp or whatever. He'd limp to the corner, but as Mika Jordan would run at him and he would block him with the elbow, he'd hop up to the top rope, stand up perfectly fine, and hit a drop kick, no problem, hop to his feet, perfectly fine, and wouldn't sell again until he was down. And, that kind of annoys me because I'm one of those guys that likes when a specific limb is targeted because it tells story. So, when it comes down to, one of the extreme cases, of course, one of the gone wrong ones that a lot of USW fans like when it comes down to examples was when Cannon worked my right arm at Capital Carnage in 2013. Now, of course, we all know how that ended. Tearing my shoulder. Fucked up the submission. That's okay. I shouldn't have turned away from him. The blame is on both our parts. But it was the entire match. He worked on the arm, up here on the arm, higher up to the shoulder, kind of worked the collarbone a little bit. And I love selling when it comes down to, a limb or a specific body part being targeted. If I'm going to the top rope and my knee is bad, I'm going to use like the bottom of my foot to push myself up. And then when I push myself up, I'm going to just land with my right or my left knee as best as I can and keep as much pressure off of my bad knee. So if I'm jumping from the top rope, I'm going to jump to my left instead of my right, so that way I don't land on my right knee unless the storytelling needs to be told. So that's something that I appreciate. I'm one of those guys that likes both the dive and the headlock. So I'm the diving headlock or team bulldog. So when it comes down to bulldog, is bulldog one of those gay like signal things? Like there's the twink. I've heard of the twink. I don't remember what the fat guy is called. Was the bullfrog the fat guy? I don't know. I read something that gay people have these groups that they're in. I think I read bullfrog is more bull is more frog. It was something like that, or whatever. So that was not a gay joke, I promise. When it comes down to it, I hate it. It pisses me off when people can't sell a body part right. Like they can sell all they want. They can grunt at the pain and at the agony of continuing to go forward and fight till the end. But if you can't sell a bad hip or you can't sell a bad knee and you're pulling off everything, that annoys me. It's one of those small things, but it's, again, not a dick joke, but it's one of those things that I think matters a lot in wrestling. So Jake Porter hit 2 V-triggers. I like just calling them V-trigger. I call them a knee to the head, but I'm going to start calling them V-trigger, so that sounds much better. And overall, Austin Atomic did win with the Atomic Theory to Porter for the 3 count, countering the 3rd V-trigger attempt. Again, an enjoyable match for what it was. Nothing too out of the ordinary. Enjoyable. I don't have anything bad to say about that match. Next match was for the World Tag Team Championships with Jack Ramsey and Austin Cole defending against part of the Mobocracy, which has sadly been dying down, of Drew Akron and Chris Sanders. Here's the story to this match. Jack Ramsey and Austin Cole are a great tag team. They're the tag team champions. Neither intensity or severity have too many tag teams to work with. Tanner Wallace and Blaine North already have a match. So they're out when it comes to contention. And that's about it. Anybody else is just, I guess, not good enough. So it's just essentially, all right, you're in the tag division. You lost. You're in the tag division. You're in the tag title picture. You lost. You're in the tag title picture. You lost. You're in the tag title picture. You shocked him. You're out. Go back. All right. You lost again. Goodbye. Here you go. Goodbye. Here you go. Goodbye. It's like it's a revolving door, and I hate that. And I hate that. I know one of their goals for this year is to replenish the tag team division and strengthen it. But with the idea of singles feuds and tag team feuds and the women's division, that's going to be a cluster for pay-per-views. So I'm looking forward to seeing how their schedule goes about when it comes down to those things. But either way, Ramsey and Cole defending against Akron and Sanders. This was a fantastic match. If it weren't for the world title 4-way dance and the international championship, which stole the show, this match would be one of, if not the better matches of the latter half of 2017. It had a lot. You had the tag team charisma and connection and bond that Cole and Ramsey share brilliantly, and it worked so well. And Akron and Sanders are a great physical, gritty tag team. It had all the makings for a great match. The ending was with with Austin Cole hitting the knee. Am I right? Knee buster? Oh, yeah. Knee drop to the back of the head. I was thinking that. I was like, what did I write there? And he ended up pinning Akron after Akron hit a boot to the chest of Jack Ramsey, which I heard took the breath out of him, and hit the knee buster to the head with a knee to the gut and a knee to the back of the head. 1, 2, 3. Ramsey and Cole retain. great, good match. I'm looking forward to seeing how the tag team division shape up going forward. I'm hoping for the best. I'm just hoping for the best, and will not accept much less. Ramsey and Corrigan, fantastic tag team. Glad they're the champions. Let's see who steps to the plate next. After this, the lights go out, and the motion tron appears, and a guy in a hood says, "I'll see you soon," and then walks away again. I wouldn't have a problem with this. I wouldn't call this a con of the show if this hadn't been done so many times before. Kirikashi was revealed as a guy in the hood. There were the two fucking nameless henchmen, or the masked assailants, back in 2016. That whole fucking gimmick just dropped off the face of the earth. And then there's why is the go-to, I'm going to dress up in a hood, this will be my disguise. Oh, I'm this guy. I don't need the hood anymore. Here you go, next guy in line. It's a stupid concept, and they need to do something different. But whatever. All right, so we're getting introduced to a new character going forward. I have no clue who it may be. I don't even know what the rumor mill is on it. So there's that. Next match was Yo-Yo Joe defeating Samuel North via countout. This was essentially Yo-Yo Joe trying to murder Samuel North. It was Samuel North would, try with just legitimate offensive grappling and technical, whatever it may be. And Yo-Yo Joe would just try to kick his ass. He would punch him. He would strike him with his knee. He'd kick him. Clothesline, he was working stiff as hell. It was a stiff style, but he was not as stiff when it comes down to, again, not a dick joke, as he wasn't as stiff, like a legitimate trying to fuck your opponent up. Not a sex joke. In the middle of the ring, and the ending of the match was Samuel North getting hit with a string effect, then Samuel North getting hit with another string effect, then Samuel North getting hit with another string effect, and then Samuel North getting hit with another string effect, except this time there's a catch because Samuel North got hit with a string effect from the ring apron to the outside of the fucking mat, which sucks. Then Joe got in the ring, and Samuel North was counted out. I hate those false finishes, especially in the pay-per-view. Keep those for the main show, but I'll let it slide. Overall, was a good match. Took off some points when it came down to the ending. That was stupid. This looks to set something in motion for Joe versus North going forward. So all eyes and ears on that. That's my thought on that. The next match was for the International Championship as Verse 9 defended against Suzuki Kirikashi, the aforementioned leader of the Promised Land. This match was the one that stole the show. I hold it on the same light as the World Championship 4-Way Dance, but in reality, this was a much better technical wrestling match. It was much more well-paced, fantastic from start to finish. Kirikashi looked great. Verse 9 looked fantastic. This was ultimately 2017 was a great year for both performers, and the match ended with the I thought I wrote bloodied. Match ended with a bladed mechanic. I knew it was a bladed mechanic. I read that as bloodied for some reason. I'm dyslexic. No, I'm not. I'm just using that as a crutch and an excuse. Same thing. Whatever. Kirikashi wins via pinfall over Verse 9 to become the new international champion. I think that's the first time since Bulletproof that a championship changed hands, since I don't believe a title changed hands at Illusion. So, fantastic match. Again, Suzuki Kirikashi is a great performer. Fantastic with all that he does. Verse 9 is fantastic on the mic, and he backs it up in the ring. He's one of those, like the Jay White of USW. Like what Jay White is to New Japan, Verse 9 is to USW. I couldn't think of a better comparison. So this match was the highlight of the night when it comes down, for me, in my personal opinion. Kirikashi wins. International Championship comes home to the Promised Land. There's talks about wanting to put the World Tag Team titles on Wallace and North after this feud with Crimson Red. I'm all for it. If it legitimizes the Promised Land, give them all the belts. Perfectly fine with that. Just keep the world title off of them and the global title off of them. Keep something for the other guys to work for. Don't make the Promised Land the dominant threat of the century. And then after that match, we had an interview with Cannon about his main event match with Majigeta, which of course came after the World Heavyweight Championship 4-way dance match. So salty. Where he said that this was a feud reignited and that he knows what Majigeta has always been capable of and is looking forward to giving the crowd a great match, as this was not really this kind of big feud that it's now being moved into. Anyway, all right. 4-way dance for the World Heavyweight Championship. Chris Ross, who is defending the World Championship for the first time since winning it. It's a 5-time World Heavyweight Champion, believe it or not. Defending against the former champion, Alexander Rodden, the former champion, Morbid, and Lone Wolf. Nobody, aside from Morbid, and even Morbid you can make a case for him, everybody in this World Championship match has been underappreciated and underused for too long. Lone Wolf should be a multiple-time world champion by now, maybe even a multiple-time USW champion by now. He should have main evented Called the Greatness, at least Bulletproof, by now. And no, his fucking world title match with Majigeta a number of years ago didn't count. Or no. With Capital, I think it was. Does not count because he was not at peak Lone Wolf. Alexander, we'll make the case for Morbid. He's just been this guy that, he's the veteran, but he has to put a lot of people over. Doesn't get enough credit for his dues. Alexander Rotten, it's like, aside from the meaningful USW Championship run he had before the momentum killer, walked in and took his title, he hasn't been treated fairly. And then Chris Ross, 5-time World Heavyweight Champion. Just think about that. He is so underappreciated, so underutilized. I mean, I get it's the World Championship. It's not of the same caliber as the USW Championship. The worst off the USW Championship was when Double XL was the champion, and that was for a couple of months, and then I took it off of him. You're welcome for that. And people make the case, oh, well, the World Championship is so prestigious, and Chris Ross needs to work his way up to it. Well, I get that, and I see that, but think about it. Even though this was the World Championship that Brandon Stickler held as the first inaugural champion, with Brandon Stickler. How crazy 2013 USW was. This is also the championship that Chris Ross has held 5 times. I'm a 10-time world champion. First in USW history to do that and mark that accomplishment. He has exactly half the world titles that I have. I'm in double digits. Half is a shit ton more than most guys in the wrestling world. And this guy is so underappreciated, so underused. It's criminal. This was a fantastic match. Wasn't the greatest wrestling match of all time. Wasn't the greatest mat wrestling work, technical wrestling match, whatever it may be. It was all down chaos. You had Lone Wolf thrown into the commentator's table, not through it, into the commentator's table. And to cap it all off, the suplex from Alexander Rotten to Morbid onto Chris Ross, and then having Rotten land on Lone Wolf. That was a fucking spectacle. And then having Chris Ross hitting the long fall on Morbid. Almost the same height as Chris Ross. Long fall. Chris Ross wins 1, 2, 3, pins Morbid with a long fall, retains the World Heavyweight Championship. This was great on its own scale because it was just all down chaos. Chairs were used, tables were broken, bodies were laid out. Never to be the same again. There's that. Don't know why this wasn't the main event. Majigeta versus Cannon was. I'm still salty, primarily because this should have. I'll make the case in February if it keeps going strong that this should have main evented the show, or that it should have main evented the show at this point or at that point in time. Chris Ross should have main evented Aftershock at the very least. But no, Majigeta and Cannon, main event of the show, and it sucks because at least if you had ended Aftershock with the world title 4-way dance, you would have had a clean finish to end the show. The finish to the Majigeta Cannon match was a disqualification, with the baby face getting disqualified. God, Vince Russo is booking this show on a limited or on a fucking visually managed basis. There's no blank on the pole matches, but it's a case of like, why this order? I don't even want to go into the match too much because it was, the classic Majigeta Cannon match, back and forth. The drama wasn't all there though, and what happened was Majigeta missed the decapitator after Cannon, or Majigeta tried to hit Cannon with a screwdriver. Cannon ducked, kicked him in the gut, and then later on, Majigeta went for the decapitator. Cannon ducked, picked up the screwdriver. The babyface picked up the screwdriver in full view of the heel and hit Majigeta in the eye with the screwdriver. Majigeta has an eye patch now. It's not a legitimate injury, but he's got an eye patch now. Cannon gets disqualified. They brawl up the ramp. Majigeta is blinded, so on and so forth. Cannon hits, the first part of the cannonball backflip, which is essentially the elevate, or the I'm going to push him off of you, but kick you in the jaw as well. Backflip, lands it as Majigeta lands off the stage and into a pile of cardboard and wood, whatever. Cannon then climbs the scaffolding, the metal scaffolding, proceeds to hit the second part of the cannonball backflip on Majigeta, fucks himself up and Majigeta up on the wood, so on and so forth, and they are stretchered out. So this is now Cannon tried to kill Majigeta, and so I guess this is this is supposed to start a meaningful feud. So if that's the case, then I'll accept it. But this still should not be, or should not have been, the main event, and I will stick to my guns on that. And so yeah, that kind of sucked because I would have liked a definitive finish for the final pay-per-view of 2017. So, of course, not a bad show. There were the pros and cons to it. The International Championship match was great. Tag title match was great. The finish of the World title match was great. The God Complex debut was fantastic. The Promised Land and Crimson Red feud ignition was fantastic, but there were also the cons. At the end of the main event, the placement of the main event, the end of Joe versus North, the hooded figure, I'll see you soon guy, and then Jake Porter just getting another loss, which sucks because I don't know where you. The whole point of the match was his redemption. So now that he's failed at his redemption, what do you do for it? You booked yourselves into a corner there. Overall, though, when it comes down to Aftershock, it was a serviceable pay-per-view. It was a semi-enjoyable pay-per-view. Not as good as Illusion. Well, you know what? No, better than Illusion, because Illusion was just kind of treated as a throwaway, more than likely. Just even thought of as a throwaway. So a 3.25 or a 3.5 out of 5, I'll give Aftershock 2017. And that is that. That is the final USW pay-per-view of 2017. My final USW 2017 review. I will more than likely be comparing the B-Show soul-branded pay-per-views from 2017 to see who won for the year, intensity or severity, and kind of see where that lies with you and with your thoughts, and give my overall thought on the entire year. I'll more than likely be doing that, but this will more than likely be one of my final 2017 related videos on this channel. Now, before I go, I would like to make an announcement. I did say a couple of days ago on Twitter, because of the whole Logan Paul thing, the dead body thing, but less to do with Logan Paul and more to do with YouTube itself. I continue to see YouTube as a place that thinks it's all high and mighty, and it's like it's becoming the Seattle Seahawks of the internet. It's kind of like that cocky, like we'll do what we want and you'll keep watching kind of thing. That's just the vibe I'm getting for it. They don't care. They're all about it for themselves. And I kind of feel strongly that there are a lot of YouTubers like Philip DeFranco and even like Rooster Teeth or bigger YouTubers that if they were to leave the site and maybe not leave the site fully, but find alternative ways to put their content out while not making YouTube the majority of their time, could really teach YouTube a lesson. You know, it would essentially be a huge loss. They'd be losing a huge chunk of notice and of revenue. So I want to make the announcement that I am currently looking into alternatives for unitards. One of the ideas is that I could start a Facebook page, a Facebook channel, and upload my videos to there while making YouTube maybe once or twice a month kind of video thing, not making it the full majority. All while at the same time kind of setting my sites away from YouTube. I don't want to be linked, so heavily to. I don't want to be linked so heavily to, this place that continues to go downhill. Like I want to be able to be. I want to be that guy that jumps ship because he knew well enough that before the ship even got into trouble, it was going to sink and he should probably hop off. So I'm going to find alternative methods to my YouTube channel. I don't know if it'll go through. I could very well just keep going with YouTube and suck it up, but I'm strongly looking into methods with Facebook or with whatever, maybe even Vimeo if I have to. But yeah. So that is my status on that. So if that announcement comes in the following days, or there are rumors about that, just know that this is what I'm saying, and this is right now all that I can tell you about that situation. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching. I sincerely hope you enjoyed. What were your thoughts on USW Aftershock 2017? I'd love to know. Leave them in the comments below. I'm sorry for not getting to the live chat today. I've had a lot to do, and I can't get to it now. So I apologize for that. But thank you very much. Thank you for a wonderful 2017. Here's for a great 2018. I hope to kick off with a lot more wrestling here in 2018. So with that being said, thank you for watching. I sincerely hope that you enjoyed. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. If I change over to Facebook, that saying might have to be changed. I love you all. Thank you for a phenomenal year. Let's have another good one this year. Zack Hardy, signing off.